Good morning and welcome to another edition of Morning Markets here at True Potential. Now, Friday ended on a positive note for global equity markets led by the US. Why is that? Well, the week had been characterised by much stronger earnings updates from US corporates than had been feared. A very positive picture was given from US corporates of current demand across the US economy, but markets appear to have reacted more positively to an informal update of the outlook for monetary policy from the US Federal Reserve, and that is that beyond the November meeting, where markets are expecting a 0.75 percentage point hike in interest rates, the Committee of Monetary Policy Makers there are likely to slow future hikes beyond November. That likely means only a 0.5 percentage point increase in December and possibly slowing to 0.25 percentage points early in 2023. So it certainly seems at the margins that the peak in monetary policy tightening from the US may be reached in November, and we may decline in the interest rate pace into the end of the year. And markets have reacted positively to that, both equities, and you'll see on the screen that US Treasury yields fell. That is, the price of sovereign bonds in the US rose substantially. Now, the focus this week in the UK is obviously going to be on the outcome from the election for the next leader of the Conservative Party, and so the next Prime Minister of the UK. And that is why the news from Boris Johnson that he won't be participating in the election race is so important. It removes some of the uncertainty for markets about the future fiscal outlook for the UK. And that's why markets reacted poorly on Friday, particularly in the afternoon, with bond yields rising, but have reacted very strongly this morning at the market open at 8 a.m. We've seen bond yields, that is yields on gilts, fall substantially, and we've seen sterling outperform on global currency markets. In fact, sterling is actually up versus the US dollar, whilst most other currencies this morning are down. Now, why is that? Well, it's likely that we will see Rishi Sunak, the ex-Chancellor, elected as the next leader of the Conservative Party. And he's far more conservative in his outlook for the finances of the UK than perhaps Boris Johnson would have been. Recall that as Chancellor, Rishi Sunak put forward the projected increases in corporation tax, which would start next year, but also it was Chancellor Sunak who originally put in place the national insurance rise to cover the additional social care levy. So he is very much a fiscal conservative as well as a Conservative MP. It is likely that he would keep Jeremy Hunt in place as Chancellor of the Exchequer, and recall that whoever the Chancellor is, a week today on Halloween, we will get the official fiscal update to Parliament for the finances for the UK economy over the next 6 to 12 months. And that update is likely to paint a rather gloomy picture for the UK in terms of the balance of the budget. If we take out the support the government is putting in place for the energy price cap freeze, there appears to still be a black hole in the finances. Now, there was an unofficial update over the weekend that there still remains a £20 billion funding gap. That is, based on feedback from the Office of Budget Responsibility, the Chancellor needs to find an extra £20 billion over the next year to cover a gap in the finances. And there's been indication that the Chancellor will likely raise some taxes, mainly on capital gains, in order to cover that. But what it really confirms is we are not going to see the sort of tax cut impulse that was originally proposed by Liz Truss, or the spending splurge which had been hoped for. We're likely to see a more conservative budget that likely keeps the finances largely constrained to try and get the economy through the winter and into the spring, and try and ride out the worst of the energy prices impulse that we're seeing as a result of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And it's because of that markets in the UK that are interest rate sensitive, FX markets and bond markets have reacted positively. We are likely to see less government borrowing than had originally been feared 4 weeks ago. That is, the government will not need to go into the official markets to borrow and to raise money through gilt issuance in order to finance increased spending or tax cuts. So please do join us tomorrow as we'll update you further on the race between Rishi Sunak and probably Penny Mordaunt, and we'll update you further on events in China and across the world. Thank you.
If you're interested in taking your investing to the next level, or would like to know more about the options available to you when you retire, then download our free guides to ISAs and pensions. These are available in the video description below.